Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into In Good Company with Constantia. Episode 3, hopefully you've now gone through episode 1, episode 2 and now you're on episode 3. Today I'm meeting with James Fowler, Chief Exec of Leaders in Care, and in this episode you're going to hear all about recruiting, retention, the difficulties in retaining people in today's world. We're going to be talking about values, organisations and how leaders really show up on a day-to-day basis and how they are the weather setters for an organisation. Thank you, James, for joining us in Good Company with Constantia. Really appreciate you coming, and you are on episode 3.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
You are very welcome.
Delighted to be on the podcast.
Yeah, good to see you again. Tell our listeners a little bit about Leaders in Care.
So Leaders in Care was founded in 2017. It was founded by myself and Mike Turton. We worked at a different firm together. We're really good friends, and just very much had a different vision of how recruitment should be done, of how we should treat our employees, and wanted to build an agency that was founded on treating people internally well. Absolute quality in the people that we supply and the relationships we build. Some of our key values are we value people, not just placements. We only work with A-star candidates. We want to be contributors to the community, not just takers from it, because recruitment, in some circles can have a bad rep, and not every operator is as ethical as you'd hope, we also internally just want to make sure that we treat the people who make our business, because we're in the people business after all. Treat people well, give people opportunity, and opportunities to progress.
And that were you and Mike. You've got another organisation, have you, as well, that you?
Yeah. So before Leaders in Care, I set up business called J2 Recruitment. We since went through a bit of a transformation after COVID, and are now Fintelligent. Markets we focus on are legal in the UK and US, and real estate finance as well. So more professional services. Leaders in Care is very much health and social care, so social work, elderly care, hospital care, out of hospital care. Things like that.
I can definitely, just for feedback for you straight off the bat, what you mentioned about setting up a recruitment agency that feels different and has an impact that lands differently to usual. We were obviously really fortunate to work with Leaders in Care on a couple of appointments of our sort of senior colleagues. And what I noticed immediately, different to experiences with some other recruitment agents that I'd worked with, was you sent flowers.
Yeah.
And I know that it sounds a little bit superficial when you say it like that, but actually when I saw those colleagues receiving them, it landed differently for them. Is that something that you do all the time?
We do different things for different people, so it's not like standard protocol, send some flowers, but one of the things that I think we do really well as a business, and I think that businesses that care about either their customers or their people do really well, is just little gestures of gratitude. I mean, for instance, we've got a lady who has worked with me for 8 years. She's got a dog called Basil.
Right.
It's literally like a child, had to go in for an operation. Okay. We all sent her a nice card, personalised with a picture of him on and everything. Just like little things like that, things that we feel will make make a difference or help us sort of stand out. Small gestures don't necessarily cost the world, but show that we care, are meaningful, and have hopefully a good impact, and people remember them.
It definitely did. They love receiving them, and it were nice for me to see them get that, because it felt like they weren't just another candidate. Is my feedback, which is good, because that's exactly what you've set out to do in terms of why you created Leaders in Care, yourself and Mike.
One of our key founding values is we value people, not just placements.
Yep.
So Yeah, we try and make sure 100%. We try and make sure, and it comes from sort of the top down, from like me and Mike, and making sure our managers are empowered to do things like that. You know, the consultants are also empowered to, you know, to have ideas, to try things. That's quite a nice thing from my point of view as well. Like obviously when you start off a business and there's a few of you, every single thing like that goes through you and you're approving everything. But you know, we've got a lot more critical mass now, and you know, leaders in the business and you know, employees in the business feel empowered to do things, come up with ideas. And it's not that, you know, I myself am sort of signing everything off or, you know, agreeing to send everything. It's just something that you know, runs through the business.
So, James, what is it really like to run a recruitment organisation? Because when I'm on LinkedIn and I pop a post out there and I say that we are looking for this particular colleague to join Constantia Healthcare Group, and then you pop on there, no agencies, all of a sudden your inbox is inundated and with agencies, with recruiters wanting to reach out to you and work with you. And at that point for me, it feels almost there's too much to go at, and it kind of turns me off. It puts me in a position where I'm probably now highly likely not going to reach out to you until I get to the point of potential desperation, shall we say.
Yeah.
So I think it does that. Do you feel that as a recruiter, as an organisation? Does, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So there's 29,000 recruitment agencies in the UK.
Okay.
So it sounds like a lot, because it is a lot.
It is.
Per capita, there's more recruitment agencies per capita than anywhere else in the world in the UK. So it's a really competitive place to do recruitment.
Yeah.
And as a candidate or an employer, there's a lot of noise. I mean, you know, often I won't read emails that I get on LinkedIn, or sales emails that, you know, I get from various different suppliers trying to sell into me. So yeah, the noise of misplaced emails that are generic, trying to push candidates into jobs that, you know, somebody's not sort of qualified or had a conversation with you about, is something that we come up against a lot. And I think, you know, it's very difficult sometimes to differentiate yourself as a recruiter as well. You know,
a credible one.
As a credible one, 100%. So so we're it's a double-edged sword. It's a battle that we're fighting because we are a recruitment agency trying to get noticed amongst the noise. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are, you know, not necessarily doing it right, who are just sort of spamming inboxes with, you know, irrelevant CVs or generic sales emails that they've sent to sort of 100 people. So whilst it's difficult to stand out, if you're doing it well and you're doing it right, and you add, you know, nice touches that make you memorable and make people want you to want to sort of engage you again and start a relationship with you, then it is easier to stand out in that noise. I think in terms of running a recruitment business, it's like there's an age-old phrase in recruitment, it's champagne and rollerblades. Like there's big ups, there's big downs. In the 11 years that I've been running recruitment businesses, I had the high of starting my own business, you know, us against the world, building it, hiring people to join me on the journey. I've had like COVID, where we went, my other business went from being very, very successful to overnight, I think we had one job on, offers being pulled, interviews being cancelled because nobody knew what was going on with the world, and having to sort of navigate that. You know, we've had lots of ups and downs with like Brexit, changes in employment law, ups and downs in the economy. As a recruitment leader, you're almost like the canary in the mine, like with the economy. So we can often tell when, you know, something's going bad employment-wise or jobs-wise, or whether there's a decrease in business confidence, because, you know, we're very much sort of at the coalface of it. So it's challenging, it's fast-paced, no 2 days are the same, and it's rare that everything is going absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, imagine. I think that's life, though, isn't it? Like
yeah.
nothing really goes to plan. Just touching on your point about employment law changes, Brexit, all those types of things. Have you noticed in terms of our sector, has there been any pullback with, particularly around when the national insurance hit and the changes that have now become upon us that are going to continue to develop? One of the first big ones, not just in our sector but across, is the SSP starting from day one. Those types of things. Have you noticed any pullback, any kind of slight changes?
Oh, massively so. We've had a really, really positive start to the year. Like we've had a record quarter this year, and everything's going really well. 2025 was not like that at all. I think within health and social care recruitment, it's probably the worst year on record. So in terms of providers, you had big increase in costs, everybody tightening their belts. First thing you look at is staffing levels, which obviously impacts the vacancies that get given to us. Obviously, there's less money to pay for recruiters to go out and search for people if margins are squeezed as well. So we had a big sort of pullback on people using our services because they were trying to, get their own costs straight and manage a lot of these costs that have been imposed on them. So it was a very, very tough year across the recruitment sector, particularly in health and social care. We have seen many of our competitors go out of business, exit the UK market, make redundancies. In some of the harder moments, like I referenced the film Forrest Gump, wanting to be, don't you know whether you remember the bit where they're on the shrimp boat and they're not catching any shrimp, and then there's the storm.
Yes.
They're the last boat on the ocean, and then they're scooping up all the shrimp. Reference that many a dark board meeting. But we've sort of navigated that storm well, kept our relationships with providers strong, and been there to add value.
Do you think it was just because they were taking stock then? So people were unsure how it would really feel, how it would land. So we'll just pull back a little bit and just look at this.
I think so. And the other thing that had a big impact was the budget being delayed. So
yes.
Business doesn't like uncertainty. And then when something is certain, but it's a dramatic change, it is going to impact your bottom line. There's very much a let's wait and see. Let's see how this is going to affect us. Let's not make any big changes or commit to any big spend until we know exactly where we're at. I think all that impacted a lot of the businesses that we serve significantly. And by proxy impacted us. Are
you seeing a change out there at the moment with the type of requests that you're getting through? So is it usually registered managers, sort of regional people, quality people? Are those departments still the usual that people are tapping into your resources?
Yeah. So really interesting question. So probably years ago, we would have providers giving us, the big providers, sometimes, hundreds of nursing vacancies a month. And that was a big part of our core business alongside leadership roles, quality roles. But the nursing side of it has, very, very, went much quieter. Now, when we are supplying nurses, it's generally to organisations that are growing quickly, are winning lots of contracts, sometimes contracts with the NHS where they're supplying outsourced care services, and they need people, quickly to deliver on those contracts. I think where we are seeing steady demand and sometimes increased demand is leadership roles, quality roles. I think particularly with acquisitions in the sector, interim has become quite a growth area for us.
Right.
If somebody's buying a lot of homes, they want to make sure everything's running as it should be.
It's almost like a due diligence
100%, yeah. So
hire.
we've had a few providers where we parachuted in quality teams to make sure everything is, transitioning in a way that is going to, support the sale and not cause due diligence problems and keep quality high during a period of, uncertainty. So I think those are areas where, there's been quite a lot of demand for our services, but your traditional sort of nursing roles, which a lot of providers would put out to us, that there isn't quite as much demand for now, with people looking to either do it themselves or we found the NHS has so we mainly do perm nursing, but the NHS is using temps in nursing far less.
Right.
So a lot of those temps, they've got car payments, mortgages, life to pay for, and they've moved into the private sector, which is, I think, sort of quelled demand for us, but been good for providers to getting some direct applicants.
Definitely. We as you know, I'm huge on growing your own.
Yeah.
So it's really, really, really important to me that we develop the people within our organisation to start being exposed to different things, and it might not always be leadership. It might be other things. It might be those departments where it's about the coaching, the development side, which I guess you could still class as leadership because you're developing people ultimately. What do you think in terms of other providers, and you can include ours in there? What are the best providers doing, do you think, to really retain their talent in their organisation, to enable them to grow their own, rather than being the quick turnover that unfortunately the sector's known for?
Yeah, 100%. So it's interesting, the grow your own side of things, because it's two sides of the same coin. So you've got recruitment and retention. If you're investing in your people, so we do a recruitment and retention survey every year within the care sector, and I think half of respondents felt like they were underdeveloped and not getting either upwards mobility opportunities or opportunities to develop their skills and enhance the repertoire. So if you are doing that and you are creating upward mobility for your best people, not only do you retain people and keep them engaged, but also you create advocates in your organisation that when you are having trying to attract new people and the challenge of attracting the best people and them not going over to the provider over there or there, you've got people who you can leave the room, introduce to, ask them anything, and they can talk about their personal development story, progression story, what skills they're learning, and you can do that at every level, from the bottom of the organisation all the way to the top. And I think it's probably one of the single most empowering things that you can do to keep your best people, but also attract other people. Because if you've got 50% of the market who are feeling underdeveloped and they come and see you, and you can introduce them to 3 or 4 people they can have a chat with about what the organisation's like, and what the organisation's like and the progression, development and upward mobility they've had, that's it's really powerful, much more powerful often than as a leader you sitting in front of them, or one of your managers sitting in front of them saying, oh yeah, we do this, you're evidencing that. So I think that's absolutely brilliant, and probably one of the best things that you can do to retain your best people and attract other people. Couple of other things that are important, flexibility, I think probably more so since COVID, is like one of the things that people value the most. So in care, that's not always,
it's difficult,
it's not always possible.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily care from home all the time, but I think being mindful of opportunities where, if it's like leaders, is there an opportunity for them to work from home if they've got lots to do, or if they've got some family commitments, trying to be flexible around them, and saying yes if it's not going to have a massive impact on the organisation. Little moments like that are what people remember. if it's nurses or carers trying to sort of not just put people consistently on nights, giving people a bit of a mix, maybe working something that we have found is really, really popular and continually comes up is, having shorter but longer shifts with longer periods of rest rather than, you shorter sort of 5 days a week, sort of staffing levels. What else? And also, I mean, we all go to work for money at the end of the at the end of the day. That is one of the drivers. With a lot of the pressures that are being put on providers, it's pay is a challenging issue. But in our 2025 recruitment and retention survey, 44% of people said they would leave their current role for a 10% pay rise, which is massive, isn't it? And if you think of some of those people in your organisation where, if they handed the notice in tomorrow, you'd be like having a sleepless night over it. Are you making sure that those key people are paid well, have regular opportunities to talk about their career, like you're reviewing pay and conditions like regularly with like either your recruitment partner. Obviously there's a lot of stuff you can use now with AI to get answers, but if you look in particularly at local level, I think often somebody who's sort of on the ground and toiling the soil day in day out can give you a better reflection on what business A up the road are doing or business B down the road.
Where do you think it comes from, James? Like, that you mentioned about if your people are feeling valued, looked after, seen, heard, all those things. Do you think that, where does it come from? As in, do you think that is the chief exec, or do you think that is, what we inherit and what we have as an organisation becomes that way? How do you see that? Because the reason I'm asking that question is, it kind of goes back, just flipping back to the beginning when you said you set leaders in care up because of you wanted to show up differently, you wanted to be different, you wanted to, not only as a recruiter, but for your employees, for them to be different. Now, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but usually when one sets out with that vision, it's because they've had experiences and lots of them where it has not been great, and that's why we want to do that differently. So if you then flip that into sort of care organisations, bear in mind with care organisations, particularly ones that rely quite a lot on local authority funding and integrated care board funding and so on and so forth, rather than private customers, or albeit there'll always be a blend. Sometimes the finances are not there. So where do you think that can come from in terms of making people feel valued, seen, heard? That if Joe Bloggs down the road does offer them 10%, that what you're giving them here is worth more than that extra £1 an hour? Does it come from the chief exec? Where does it come from? So
it doesn't necessarily. Can I just start my answer again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are right. I have had experiences prior to setting up my own business where I've worked in organisations, or people I know have worked in organisations where weren't treated properly, have just not been treated the best. Look, budgets are under stress, and it's not always feasible to be handing out pay rises and extra money for people. But what does and should come from the top down, because whatever the leader of an organisation prioritises, your management team below and everybody else will prioritise. What they don't prioritise or don't seem as important, it works the other way. I do think that it's really important to show gratitude to people, and that can be something like a simple thank you note. Years ago, when we did our survey, when nurses were asked what they wanted most, the response was, this was sort of pre-cost of living crisis, the response was like, over 50% of people said like just a thank you would be nice, or a thank you note, or like, you know, somebody saying thank you when we'd done a good job. So I think just simple sort of gratitude, doing small things that don't always cost as much. Like you've been absolutely brilliant today. I've really appreciated all your help. Get yourself off, like, so you can go and pick the kids up, or you know, get yourself home early, or thank you very much, or, you know, here's a box of chocolates that we've bought. Just little things, and if you prioritise that as a leader and you communicate that to the other leaders in the business, then that is something that will filter down in the organisation. So does it always come from the top down? I would say that it should, like, in my view, it's a leader's responsibility to set that tone and ensure it does filter down, because people want to feel valued, and everyone, you know, you don't necessarily go into care or nursing for like the money and to be a millionaire, do you? Like, no. You do it because you're passionate about helping people, looking after people. You know, you've got a deep sense of you know, wanting to care for people and look after people, and everyone likes to feel valued, and like their employer, their manager, their colleagues appreciate them. So I think peer-to-peer recognition, small gestures, these are the things that like put you know, the heart in a team or in a culture or in a home, and just make people feel like what they're doing, which is often difficult, hard, and, you know, sometimes unpleasant, is like worthwhile, and they feel valued. And I do think it's 100% like leaders' responsibility in an organisation to set that tone and make sure that you know, that is how the organisation operates.
I totally agree. You'll have worked with, I'm sure, candidates that you've built a relationship with over a period of years, probably because they've come to Leaders in Care. You've then, you know, created an introduction that's then materialised into a job for that person. They've then had a bit of a career with an organisation, and they've probably picked the phone back up to Leaders in Care saying, right, this is no longer a fit now, looking for something different. And then the same thing happens again and again and again. Have you got an example of, and I'm just curious really, where you've got that person or persons where that cycles happen quite frequently, but now you're picking the phone up to them to say, everything all right, how are you doing? Because you kind of know, usually it's coming round for the change up, and then they're saying to you, do you know what, I'm loving life, I'm really happy, and this is everything. And when you do get that reply, what do you think that organisation's doing differently for that person?
So in terms of the way that we operate, so we absolutely, if somebody picks up the phone to us who we have placed and is like, you know, I've been here 3 or 4 years, I want to leave for this reason, you know, we will help that person. We won't headhunt from clients, we won't actively take people from clients. But if someone's going to leave and they ask us, we will deal with them. Interestingly, there's been probably several occasions in my career, and I know that some of my team have done, where, you know, we've got someone who we placed in a client, they've come to us and said, I'm looking to leave because of this, this and this. And we've thought, well, actually, if you were to talk to Emily or, you know, whoever it was, they might be able to sort this out for you. This isn't necessarily something you need to leave your job for. So a fundamental value, and I think one of the reasons why I've been successful in recruitment, and, you know, the team is successful, is we look to do the right thing, even when it's not necessarily in our financial interest. And as a wonderful byproduct of doing the right thing is actually, I believe it does lead to more commercial success later down the line, because that candidate, you know, they might go and inquire with, you know, the leader of the organisation or HR, whatever the issue is, and sometimes it can be small reasons, but it's big to them, and it could be sorted, and then that instills a lot more trust. And, you know, if they are to move in the future, you've got a lot more advocacy with that candidate to, you know, to help them through that journey of getting that job, because moving jobs is a scary thing, and sometimes I believe a good recruiter will always use their powers for good, and like help give that person a little sort of push if they're unsure on accepting an offer, when they know absolutely this really aligns with what you spoke about from a motivation point of view, what you've spoke about from a career point of view, but also will advise. I've advised before on many occasions against like taking an offer because actually like
it's not the right fit.
It's not the right fit, or it doesn't fit in with something that you said at the beginning of the conversation, and invariably that leads to more trust with the candidate. The client is happy because you're not just putting someone in there who might leave after 4 or 5 months or 12 months, like because something's not right, and you've got the opportunity to place that candidate somewhere else, get somebody who is maybe a better fit for the client. So I think doing the right thing is not just the right thing to do, but commercially, if you do the right thing, like the commission and everything comes as a byproduct of that.
It's the same for us. I mean, one of our values is if we can, we will.
Yeah.
My team are probably sick of hearing me say that particular one. We have 11 in total, and that's my favourite out of them all. And it's exactly that. I think it's about if you can do something, you should do something.
Yeah.
If we can do it, we will do it. And I met with a really wonderful lady called Eleanor, who is a cultural specialist. Met her on LinkedIn. Quite a funny story actually. When I first called her, she thought a podcast was speaking to her because it came through on the phone as she was listening to a podcast. It's like, hello, I'm here. Yeah. And we had a really good chat, and then we met up via Teams a couple of weeks later just to chew the fat a little bit, shall we say, around the restructure that I did as the 1st of December for the organisation, because I spotted a few things that weren't quite flowing, and I just wanted to bat some ideas to somebody externally. And it were all those things about, she said to me, the biggest things cost nothing.
100%.
And it landed with me really heavy because I thought, she's absolutely right. And I 100% agree that the culture of the organisation is set from the top. And I think if the top are willing to accept poor standards and poor culture, then that is what everybody else will, that is their benchmark, that's what they will accept. So yeah, I really liked that, what she said to me. And we do all sorts of things that I think are just basic, but they land really well with our team. And it's things like, if it's their birthday, they get a birthday card written. So I write a birthday card, goes out to them. Financially, that doesn't cost anything. The financial side to it is all our colleagues get the birthday off. It's called the duvet day. So we don't expect you to be here on your birthday. Go and get Netflix on, get your chocolates on the go for it. So everybody gets that off. We do a charity volunteering day. So we have loads of colleagues that like to Dogs Trust, the Cattery Sanctuary, lots of various charities, polling stations, etc. And we will pay for them as if they were at work to go and then do a charity volunteering day. And it's all those little things that I believe has a significant value. When we did episode 1, I met with Ian, who's the chief exec of Appetito and Wiltshire Farm Foods, and we talked about, I said to him, gone is the day where you can pay someone just a wage.
Oh, 100%.
I think it's more than that now. And I think the small things really matter. The thank yous, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for today. All those little things matter because that person's, yes, you're paying them, and you would hope that you're paying them a really good wage because you value them and you understand what they bring to the table. But there's always a budget. We always want to pay people more, but there's constraints there, and we can't. But I think that those moments where you can say thank you to someone because you're thanking them for their time and they're doing life with you, they're committing their career with you.
They're on the journey with you, aren't
absolutely.
they? Like, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. We, and we do similar things. So, we're a small business or small businesses. We're not like, kind of throw in bods of cash and sat there sort of smoking cigars. So there's a limit to what we can afford as well. Some of the things that we introduced that have been like the most impactful. So we have something called Star Days, which is based on performance, but you get, if you do over a certain amount of billings in a month, you get an extra day off to use at your leisure. If you're 10% over target, you get half a day off. So people can have up to 12 extra days off a year, but they're doing very well. So it feeds back into, reinforcing the high standards that we expect. Another thing we offer is gym flexi time. So if someone goes to the gym on their lunch, they can take an hour and a half on their lunch, make it up beginning, end of the day. Again, sort of health and fitness, healthy body, healthy mind. We want people to look after themselves. We don't want people to, to kind of burn out or think they don't have time to, to exercise or get to the gym. So there are a couple of things that don't necessarily cost us, or there's the cost of giving somebody a day off, but, their performance sort of warrants it. They don't cost a lot, but they...
I'm laughing because you're talking about healthy stuff and whatnot, and the reason I'm laughing is we have the Carvery Club. So ours is about eating, and yours is about getting fit. We sit and munch the full Carvery.
We have a few things like that where we'll take. So we have Fintelligence Finest and Leaders Legends, where every quarter, if somebody does well, we're on like a thing together, and that could be. I mean, we've done all sorts of stuff over the years, so it could be a nice meal. There's a lot of eating that takes place. There's been. In years gone by, running around an old mill with airsoft guns, shooting people dressed as zombies. There's been cocktail making, go-karting, but just stuff where we can get the team out. Like, because as I say, it's champagne and razor blades. It's a tough job. Lots of ups, lots of downs. And I think having some time together away, either doing something silly or eating some nice food, just sort of helps reinforce those bonds between people and keeps people there. I actually one of the organisations I used to work for was probably the antithesis of our organisation in terms of how they treated people, and I before I started my business calculated what it would cost to do something like this, either monthly or once a quarter, and then I calculated what would be the lost like the impact of like the lost revenue, lost customers, of people leaving, sort of high turnover, and just people think, we don't necessarily have the funds to do something like that, but actually, like, if it brings people together, if it makes people feel valued, if it makes people feel rewarded, it makes people stay. Do you know what I mean? And happy people do great work for you, much better work than people who are disengaged, and wanting to get off the bus. So again, and I think we're totally aligned in how we sort of see the world here, like doing the right thing, looking after people, trying to make people, making sure people know that you value them, that they're doing a good job. It's like commercially a great strategy, as well as also being the right thing to do for people.
Do you think providers are there, James? You're thinking about care providers?
Not everyone, no.
Right.
Like I think, and I think it's the same across lots of industries. You've got people who are embracing maybe a new way of doing things, who are more emotionally intelligent. Again, going back to our recruitment and retention survey, number one thing that most people look for in a leader, over 2/3, emotional intelligence was the most important thing. But yeah, I think you've got people who get it and understand how, as you said, it's not just about who's paying me the most money anymore, or about salary. It's about people want to feel like they're part of something. People want to feel like what they have, what they're doing has purpose. People want to feel valued, and people do want to go on a journey with you, and also their own personal journey in their career, like go well on that journey. I think sort of leading with your your heart and taking people's hearts along with you is critically important at the moment. And I don't think I know some people who do a brilliant job of that, but I think the industry as a whole probably needs to do better and maybe move a bit more into the modern age. And I think as other generations come through, that is more and more pronounced. It's, as I say, it's not just about money. People want to feel valued. They want to feel part of something. They want their organisation to be doing good in the world as well. And people want to work for organisations that, you know, are looking after the environment, are looking after people, do charitable things, and are a force for good in the world. And I think that is a shift from maybe like 30, 40 years ago, where people wanted to be paid. They wanted to be paid the most money they could, and off they go. Yeah, 100%.
Do you think it's because, I think we are doing great things in our organisation.
I would agree.
And I think that, thank you. And I think that those that have wanted to be reached have been reached. But you've always got those colleagues that feel far away, and you still need to reach them to get the message across that this is how we're doing. This is what the new way looks like, and that you're not a number. We do see you. We know your name. We know how much value you add, and we're really grateful that you've chosen Constantia Healthcare Group to have your career with us, and we're grateful for that. Do you think that some providers maybe turned off to the concept of still trying to reach those who feel unreachable? Because it can be frustrating. I think we all need to accept that the reality is it can be frustrating when you feel like you're trying to get your message across and you're demonstrating that you're showing up, and that person is still not enough, still not enough, still not enough.
I'm a big believer that, firstly, you can't please everybody, and you shouldn't aspire to, because you're just going to end up perennially disappointed. But I think, as a provider, as a leader in a provider, you can reach everyone, and those who want to be reached and embrace change and embrace this is the way that we're doing things now, will do it. There'll always be people who are resistant to things, or maybe have had bad experiences in the past. But I think as time goes by, if an organisation's consistent with their values, and not just the CEO at the top, but the people around them are getting on board with stuff, they're seeing some of the stuff that's talked about happen, then you slowly do win over hearts and minds. And if you don't win over everyone, that's okay as well. You're never, particularly when you're running a large organisation, you're never going to have everybody who's 100% happy about everything all the time. In fact, good leadership is, I believe, sort of doing the right thing, even when it might not necessarily be the popular thing all the time. I think people can get on board with not necessarily agreeing with something. What they struggle to get on board with is things not being applied consistently, and unfairness. That's where that for me is poison to an organisation. Not everybody has to like everything all the time, or be completely on board. But if people can see that values are being applied consistently, decisions are made consistently, even if the cookie doesn't crumble in your way, in a particular scenario, then they can forgive that and get on board with that, I feel.
I think that I think we both agree that the organisations that will continue to thrive will be the ones that start changing the way that they've been used to working, and they start really leaning into this woke world that we're in now. People expect more.
100. Expectations of employees have never been higher.
Exactly. And I don't think that if an organisation is continuous in their, well, this is how we do it, and this is the policy, and this is the procedure, and it continues in the regimental way. Not that it's the regiment cannot be a positive thing, because it can be, but I believe that if they continue to always do what they've done, they're always going to get what they've got. And because the expectations of people are increasing and they want different things, we talked about in one of the other episodes saying, okay, well, if you have got a younger member of the team, to them a thank you and a 50 quid in the pay packet is being recognised. But actually someone else who has got children or grandchildren, and actually they're scheduled on to a care shift, but their child has got parents' evening or whatever that looks like, the ability to be able to say to that person, you get off, you go and do that, and I'm going to step in
deliberately
and cover that.
Treating people
Exactly.
differently.
The value is the same for both people, but the action is different. And I think if organisations don't start sitting up to that and paying attention to it, sadly, I think that those will be the ones where retention starts to go down. I believe that's the case.
100%. And like, you don't need to have, I think like one of the best qualities of a leader is to be a good listener and to know when to listen as well. Again, in recruitment, like an old saying, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, you need to use them in that
order,
ratio.
Yeah.
And the same applies, if you're trying to change an organisation or get ideas, you don't need to have all the answers. The people who have the answers are the people who work for the organisation. And I think putting things out there, providers that have done good things and positive changes, generally are the ones that listen to their people. Anonymous feedback surveys, anonymous idea surveys, asking people like what training would they like, feedback on management style, all sorts of different things that you can do to get ideas from your people and see as a leader, because particularly if you're running like a very big organisation like yourself, you've got like sometimes a lot of people in between, the person at the bottom of the organisation and yourself. It can be very difficult to understand what walking a day in that person's shoes is like. And if you ask people for feedback, they'll often give you, particularly if it's anonymous, honest answers that you can then, look at. Some of it might be great, some of it might be uncomfortable, but you know what you're working with, and you've got suggestions from the people who who these changes will impact.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think listening to your people is really, really important.
We do it anonymous for everyone. So everything's anonymous. And just tapping into what you've just said there, I spotted something, and it were only language where, and it was subtle. And it were a couple of times where I'd heard people say things like, well, I gave that feedback and nothing happened. Or we're not listened to, in different ways. And it became clear to me that what we do is in the sector, and I guess in other places as well, we do the you said, we did, don't we?
Yeah.
So you said this, and we did that. And that's what we demonstrate. And if you go into different care providers' homes, you'll see usually you said, we did boards and things like that. But we never do the you said and we didn't, and this is why. So we've started doing that now. So the plan to roll that out in our organisation is in its final stages, whereby it's not that we've not listened to you, and it's not that your voice weren't heard, and it's certainly not that your opinion weren't valued and it didn't have any weight behind it. It's just actually we couldn't do it. But we never go back to that person and say, we heard you, but this is why we just couldn't do what you asked us to do.
Do you know, that's absolutely brilliant. I've never thought of that, and I might have to be stealing that
you steal that, and I'm going to steal the day off for certain things. So we'll have a switch. We'll let you have that. I just think it's important, because at that point then, they know I have been heard, but now I've got an explanation. It's not just because my idea wasn't a good one. It's because of this and this reason that can't happen. An easy one for me is a colleague really wants to roll out EMA across the organisation. We have got digital solutions in everything, but we've never got to EMA yet fully. And there were some really great ideas coming out, and it's not because it's a bad idea that it's a no. It's a no for now because we need to get the IT infrastructure really solid, because we're already heavily relying upon the IT for these different solutions. We need to make sure that our pharmacies are all signed up to this particular one that we want to go to. We want to do this. So when you give the answer and you give it whole,
Yeah.
it changes completely. The no becomes a not now and this is why, rather than just a no. And I think it's that way of working that really does change how people receive feedback. As like you said, you know, as a leader, sometimes you've got to do the right thing and not the kind thing, and that has to fit.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I think going back to what you said earlier about standards, as much as you want to retain people and recruit the best people, if you don't set the standards and make sure that, you know, people are working to those standards and living by your values, then good people who do not like that, and they become disengaged and go. So, you know, as well as, you know, sometimes to retain people, you've got to make sure that you are making sure that, you know, people who are not doing the right thing in the organisations are, you know, being dealt with as well.
Definitely. Before we finish, I just want to ask you, how do you think you show up as a leader on an individual level to the people that you work with?
So it's a really, really good question, that. I think what you just said there, communication, is really, really key. So I'll make sure that once a month we have like business update. Most recently, that's been fantastic because everything's going amazingly well. Lots of praise, pointing out people who've done well, highlighting performance, celebrating people's progression or promotions, but being really clear and transparent with you know, how the business is doing. In my 11 years, it's not all been sunshine and rainbows.
No.
There's been some like tough times as well, and I think, you know, making sure that you are communicating to people in those tough times, you're explaining and just showing your human side as well. I think in COVID, when we're all working from home, I did like a big long video message to people. You know, we had to reduce people's pay a little bit to survive. Was not a comfortable message to do, but like something that I did and got out there. Like one of my team actually about a year ago was like, do you know what I found in my WhatsApp, your message that you sent, like, and I watched it again and I was like, you know, you can tell like how much like pain you were suffering having to sort of do that. But so I think being human, communicating properly, making sure that like, I think making sure that you're like, there's people in my organisation that are better than me at lots of different things, and it's making sure that they are empowered to do their job as best as they can, to make decisions, to challenge me, because I don't have all the answers and I'm not right all the time.
I think you might do though. Yeah,
not
you have
right
the title
the
and therefore you
yeah, 100%. So you know, I'm not right all the time. So making sure that you know, leaders in the organisation have the opportunity to do well and, you know, get their ideas out there and not just have somebody overbearing on them, but, you know, giving them a remit and letting them do things, do it in their shoes, and being there to sort of, you know, gently guide them like in the right direction as well. And I think sort of being seen like on the floor, like making sure, you know, from my perspective, something that I have learned over 10 years is, you know, the CEO or a leader in a business coming over to you and being interested in what you're doing, knowing some of the good work you're doing and, you know, commenting on it or talking to you about it is like very, very impactful. You know, similarly as well, I believe, so culture is so important to us. As I said, we're in the people business. Like, people are our biggest, you know, asset. And culture is critically important to us. I believe that culture it's like a living, breathing organism. You can have a brilliant culture and it doesn't take too much for it to just shift one way or the other way and be in an area where it's not so brilliant anymore. And I think as a leader, you've got to make sure that through the trials and tribulations of, you know, the good times, the bad times, the tough times, easy decisions, hard decisions, that you keep that culture where it needs to be, you keep your leaders aligned to it, and you keep the standards clear, and the expectations of everybody clear as well. Because if you don't, then that can
You
kind
set
of
the
veer
weather,
off,
don't
and
you?
you get people disengaged. So I think that is a key part of it, making sure that our people are empowered, our culture is where it needs to be, and that people know that you're approachable, and you know what's going on in their world.
Perfect. Thank you, James, so much.
Cool.
Thank
Thank you.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to In Good Company and like and share. Thank you.